YouTube Nation, Maven TV, aka Mute TV, aka the sleeping giant has been awakened. And you know what? I still should be asleep. I should, because as far as I'm concerned, I have been taking, and I'm sure you fine ladies and gentlemen have realized, since January, I've been taking a lot of hiatuses. And it's not just going out and having fun, but a lot of personal personal problems on my end that I have to take care of as an individual so that I can live, as opposed to, what's going on here in video or whatever. And you fine ladies and gentlemen have sent me so much information. You're always talking to me. You're always asking my opinions on things about the gaming industry. I understand it has been a while since I have done a video, a cam video straight up and giving you information. But when I see these problems that you send me, and it starts from bad, and then it gets worse, then it gets worse, then it gets worse, then it gets worse, and it almost becomes overwhelming to me because I don't know what to address first. There's so many problems to address, and sometimes, I hear your cries, I'm reading the articles, I see all the problems, but sometimes I just have to tune it out. You know what I mean? I have to tune it out so I can take care of myself first. And that's what it comes down to. Now, with all these problems that have been going on as of late in the industry, I believe one of you guys sent me a link, a couple days ago, about one Sun-Higginson. And this has been the tipping point, if you ask me. This is what lit a fire under me. Because she's making a documentary about sexual abuse in women in gaming, sexual harassment in gaming. All right, and it's not just we female gamers, but it's also women in the industry as well. And a lot of people, including myself, after reading some of these articles, you have to start questioning her motives because they're not as pure as people are making them seem. Even though she has a lot of supporters, there's also a lot of doubters after reading some of the quotes that she has put out there. So why don't we start by getting into that right now. In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, which I will put in the info bar, Sun-Higginson thinks she's prepared for the worst. As the filmmaker behind GTFO, the new documentary that aims to highlight the abuse suffered by female gamers and women in the games industry, it's not as if she doesn't know what to expect. And I quote, "I've gotten a few messages so far that are like, I'm an attention whore," which is a hilarious assessment to gather from trying to make a movie about women in gaming. So let me get this straight. Not only are you an outsider to the gaming culture, but to the internet. And I say this because that hurts your credibility, or, and I say or, you've bought into the ideal that, which is a sexist one actually, that only women can be called whores. It's the very same ideal that your documentary is supposed to be against. Because the last I checked, men can be called attention whores too on the internet. They can. I don't know where you get this from, but you know what? Let's just keep going. Continuing the article, it says, by outsider, she means not a blogger, or a developer, or even someone who can necessarily chat about the ending of BioShock Infinite. She admits straight away, and I want you to remember this, people, she admits straight away that she isn't a gamer herself and only became aware of the problem when friends of hers spoke being abused online. But she thinks that her role as an outsider comes with both its disadvantages and advantages. It says, it has been a lot more challenging that I didn't start out with any context at all in the industry. I also want you to remember that for later too, people. But this is really important movie to get made, and I can't just hope that someone else will make it, she explains. I want to tell people like myself, outsiders, who aren't aware of this, about this problem. I heard about it and have always cared about women's and feminist issues and didn't realize this was happening under everybody's nose. So you're not a gamer, right? You're saying straight away you're not a gamer. I want people to remember this. Okay, you're not a gamer. All right. Now I'll put it like this. So you're an outsider who only knows about this issue due to the fact that your other friends are gamers and told you their experiences of being sexually abused online while playing video games, which prompted you to run out and make a documentary. I don't buy that one bit. So I'll just have to ask these questions then. If your friend came to you, or any of your friends came to you and said, I'm being racially abused online while playing video games, would you have made a start documentary on racism in gaming? No. Would you have come out if a friend had said to you, they're making fun of my age online when I'm playing video games, which is ageism in gaming, we see it all the time, would you have started making a documentary on that as well? No. See, this is what I don't understand, because these are broader issues than what they're making it seem, all right? And to say that they fly under everyone's nose, no, they don't. And I'm going to address that later, okay? But the fact is, People, this is not a feminist issue. If it's sexism, because sexism goes both ways, this is a social issue. You understand that, right? She has been brainwashed to believe that she's mislabeled this entire documentary, and I'm going to get on that later too, all right, by also misleading everyone else. This is a social issue. So if you have a problem with women not being treated fairly in the workplace, I advise you look into affirmative action. It is notable that affirmative action did not include women until the Executive Order 11375 amended Executive Order 11246 on 13th of October 1967, expanded the definition to include sex, which means women were also included. So that proves right there it's a social issue, and that women, regardless of race, are protected under affirmative action with other minorities. Now, I do want to talk about this a little bit more about her being an outsider, and not a gamer as she claims, because as we saw, she's not a gamer. But then in another article, turns around and says she's a casual gamer. In another article, which I will put in the info bar for you, Sun-Higginson says, and I quote, "I am just a casual gamer, so I was shocked about a year ago when a friend told me about the abuse that many female gamers and other industry figures endure on a daily basis. I immediately began researching and filming this documentary titled GTFO in reference to the exclusionary response that many women encounter while gaming." So first you straight away say that you're not a gamer. Now all of a sudden, you're a casual gamer. Look, you can't even keep your own story straight, yet you want people to give you money. And I want to know, how many idiots have already have bought into this and given her money? People fell for that quick. I mean, there's a sucker born every minute. Look, ask yourselves this. What person do you know that has no connection with the gaming culture or the gaming community immediately starts making a documentary off of a few stories or experiences her friends told her? No one does that. That's ridiculous. You know what? And remember the beginning where she said she didn't have any contacts? Because I'm not buying any of this, all right? That she didn't have any contacts? Well, let's look at her IMDB. In 2010, Sun-Higginson was an assistant director on the short Can I Get a Witness? In 2011, she was a production assistant on Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations, which is labeled a documentary. In 2011 also, she was a production assistant on Goodnight Doll. And was in 2013, which she was a production coordinator in a number of TV series in The Layover. And also, once again in 2013, Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown production coordinator. She only did one episode for that, but also understand that it's still under the documentary type aspect. People, understand she has connections. Now, for those who are going to say, well, they're not gaming contacts, understand she has entertainment contacts. Do you know what that means? As we all know these days, gaming and movies and Hollywood, they're trying to become hand in hand. The lines are starting to become blurred, so it's not that hard to be rolled into gaming contacts. Do you get what I'm saying here? You have to be kidding me if you think that she didn't have contacts right from the jump on this. On top of this, I will say this. If you don't believe that she doesn't have any type of gaming contacts or any PR training or any media training when it comes to gaming, check out this quote. Sun-Higginson says, and I quote, "I didn't think there was still an industry that in 2013 everyone was just fine with being really, really sexist," she says. "And I don't think, obviously, it's the entire industry. That would be incredibly presumptuous and not true. It's just a very vocal minority." So here we go again with the vocal minority. Oh, I'm sorry, the very vocal minority. Let's get something straight, girl, all right? Because media training 101 and phrase training won't save you here, sister. Understand that in the previous year, we have seen multiple articles come out that says that sexism in gaming is bad, it's wrong, it's horrible, and that people are against it. We have seen multiple videos on YouTube, and especially yours truly, have come out and said sexism in gaming is wrong, it's horrible, and it's disgusting. We have seen people get caught red-handed on videos, and people on forums talk about it and say sexism in gaming is wrong and it's disgusting. And you have the nerve to sit here and say that it's the very vocal minority? Seriously. You know what? Hello, yesterday's news. That's how I feel. You have to be kidding me. But that's not all, because I'm not buying any of this crap, and neither should you at this point. But I'll put it like this. All right, Sun-Higginson went to PAX East. That's right. went to PAX East, went to a number of conventions to go talk to sites. That's right, about this issue. So, sites. Yes, she went to Fat, Ugly, or Slutty, and she went and talked to Not in the Kitchen anymore because they publish abuse cases in gaming and things of that nature. So let me get this straight. You went to PAX East to go talk to a bunch of business connections when you have the source of your material walking around the floor. That's right, female gamers, cosplayers, booth babes, and you ignore all of them to go talk to a bunch of business connections. I thought this was supposed to be about, wasn't it? Wasn't it supposed to be for the gamers and for the industry? And you're out there talking to them and ignoring the rest? And here's the thing, because you weren't on the floor talking to these women, you missed out on the fact that at PAX East, and I reported this not too long ago in the video I did, where professionals were sexually harassing cosplayers. And that was right under your nose. Again, you're not focused, and you're not doing what you've said you set out to do. But you're going to sit and talk to business connections. You know what? Let's move on to the next quote. Sun-Higginson adds, and I quote, "And the other thing from the developer's end and the monitoring end, for people get muted and reported so that this happens less and less. And it makes it easier for women and men and anybody who gets harassed to report these people so they won't be allowed to do it to anyone else." It's interesting that she says this because many men and women gamers have complained about this issue in reporting when it comes to online gaming. I've done many videos on this myself and has said that the industry is not being efficient enough in that area. But she has admitted that men are also being abused online, which means it's not a sexist issue anymore. Now, is it? No, it's not. It's a harassment issue, which turns into what? Anybody? It turns into a social issue. Thank you for proving me right. And here's where I have a problem with this, because you're using this feminist card on a larger issue. All right, that's what it is. It's a larger social issue when you're targeting women as your core audience, which I don't understand. If you have already admitted that men also get abused, then why aren't they getting a fair share in this documentary? Why are they not having their say if this is about equality? That's what it's supposed to be about, right? All right, well then you should have the same airtime with men as well. I don't understand this, but this is what really bothers me. Because if you really think that, oh, well, men are being abused, but they can take it more than women can, then that's a sexist thought altogether. Why don't you understand that if this is about harassment, then you have to label it as harassment? But that's not what she's doing. She's using the women, like I said, as a core audience, a target audience, to appease to them like Anita Sarkeesian did. And what did she do? She went out and made a name for herself and got paid. And I'm still trying to figure out of $150,000 that people donated to her, where'd that money go? Anybody? Now, before anyone says, well, you don't know if she used that donation money for shoes. Well, you know what? She sure as hell didn't have $1,000 shoe money before making videos. Now, did she? Come on, stop this. Look, for every Sarkeesian and for every Sun-Higginson who tries to wave, the feminist flag, or should I say, when these phonies come out of nowhere, I should call it the feminist flag, all right? Understand, they're the same ones that go and buy makeup to make themselves look prettier. They're the same ones that go buy expensive clothes or $1,000 shoes. Seriously, who has money for $1,000 shoes? You gotta be kidding me, all right? Yeah, to make themselves, their self-worth just a little bit more better, make themselves feel better about themselves with labels. If I am going to buy $1,000 shoes, I guarantee you, they better not fall apart. They better be bulletproof. They better make me jump, make me fly. $1,000 shoes? You kidding me, man? That is a joke. That is shallow. It is superficial. And why would you want these type of women representing other women in the industry they've been caught lying? How? Why would you want these type of women to be a role model to your daughter? That's crazy. Absolutely insane. And if this hasn't bothered you enough yet, then guess what? Let's get into another quote to what she had to say next. Sun-Higginson says, and I quote, "If I can stop people abusing women, that would be a success. But I think it's more about not speaking directly to those people, but making it more of a taboo, more shameful to do that. And the second aspect is making everyone aware of this as a huge problem that needs to be fixed. It's awful to think that half of the community, meaning women, are being abused and their talents aren't really being used in the video game industry as much as they could be." Okay, she still doesn't get it, so I'll just have to lay this out. She sits here and says that if she could stop women's abuse with this documentary, that it would be a success. Well, number one, you've already said that men get abused too, so that stands out the window, all right? Number two, you want to talk about, abuse and, and sexual abusing people online, women, whatever. Don't you think if that could have been stopped, they'd have done it already? I'm just saying. The industry could crack down on it. I've said that before. But there's always going to be some idiot out there who does this. You know this. And then you go on and say you want to make sure that it's taboo. Sexually abusing women is taboo and that it's looked down on and that it's shameful. Newsflash, all right? All abuse is shameful. It doesn't matter if it's just women or not. All abuse, it's shameful. Where the hell did they get these people from? Seriously. I don't get this. But you know what? That's not all. Then you go on to say that half of the gaming community, and you said meaning women, so that means 50% is men, 50% is women, that women, half of that community, are being abused. So you're going to make the bold claim that every woman that has played video games have been sexually abused online or whatever. You're going to make that claim. I want to see some numbers. I want some hard figures because that's ridiculous. Look, in your unfocused, wacky documentary that you are making, it has just been, I'm telling you, this is horrible. And there's no way you would ever get my money for this. And then you go on to say afterwards that, women's talents aren't being used, to their fullest extent in the industry. Now, look, when you're going to say something like that, might I say that is a broader aspect. That is a broader topic, mostly, if you ask me, on, indie production versus mainstream production. You have to start looking at the number of employees that you also have that are female as well in these companies and their roles. And it's a lot of research, and that is a broader aspect. You cannot make such a blanket statement and think that that's going to fly. What the hell is wrong with you? Look, people, let's get something straight here. This is not about stopping sexism in gaming. This is not about stopping harassment in gaming. This is an outsider who says she's a casual gamer now, but then an outsider, yeah, don't get me started, all right? Deceiving people, that's what she's doing, and exploiting the issues of our community for her personal gain. That's what this comes down to. Know the difference, people. That's all you have to do. And she wants to name her film GTFO, don't film the trolls. Yet you're using the examples of the trolls. That's right. You're using the examples of the trolls in this film and how it affects people. So you are still feeding the trolls. Yes, you are. You're feeding the trolls just for more controversy or more attention for your documentary, just like Sarkeesian did. We've seen this before, people. And if we're going to talk trolls, let's not just talk about the negative trolls that say, you should go back to the kitchen or whatever and leave nasty remarks. What about the supporters of these people who also troll? Yeah, that's not going to make the film no, or is it? I'm just wondering. Because that would be fair, right? Yeah. All right. Should we also talk about the female YouTube gamers? And you know who they are? Some of them who push their breast up, on film. Doesn't matter what they're saying because they want views to exploit that. Should we talk about that? I guess that won't make, the further stereotype, I guess that won't make the film either, huh? But here's the thing. When it comes down to these type of things, it seems as though she wants to have a valiant effort, but then when you start looking into things more and more, it becomes a train wreck, and it's not what it's supposed to be. I'll be damned if someone's going to come in here in our community and try to take it for everything it's worth so they can make a name for themselves. That's horrible. Absolutely horrible. But that's not all. Because there are some YouTubers who still don't get it. That's right. And what I mean by this is when people fall into these type of traps when it comes to feminism and then they have their opinion, I don't think they're thinking things through before they decide to talk. And then we end up with something like this.
What's this? Is that good?
A hammer burst? I don't know. You might like it. Pick it up. Try it.
What do
Try
I
it.
Replace it with?
I don't care. Replace with whatever gun you don't like. Use the one with the, use the one on your back. Jeez, I can't talk, man. There, you don't like the way that recoils anyways. Alright, so I've rented Gears of War Judgment, and right now the wife's playing the section where you have to play as a female, because I've refused. Now, if she wasn't here and I absolutely had to play this section, because the game is pretty decent, I would play it. But it is not my choice to play as a female. I really do not want to do it. In fact, it takes me out of the experience big time. But with recent games, it's clear this is going to be something that's here to stay. Mass Effect 3, Gears of War Judgment, the new Battlefield 4 trailer. Women are going to be inhabiting the video games as characters. I hope the developers give you a choice. So I just want to get a feel out there to see what you guys' thoughts are on it. Now, before I've trolled you and shit like that, but do you, if you are a man, do you prefer to play as a female or a male? Or do you not give a shit either way? Me, I prefer to play as a guy. If I got to play as a girl, I get pissed off. I can't stand it. The wife, she hates games like this. As soon as she saw you could play as a girl, she wanted to play it. Okay? It's natural for you to want to play as your own gender, I think. But with a lot of you guys out there on YouTube, you don't even give a shit. You don't even have a preference. Whatever, it don't matter. I'll play as either a guy or a girl. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Now, look, I don't know if this guy is serious or he's trolling or, I really don't care. And his opinion is not even really about his opinion, which he has a right to. But, it's more of, for me as a gamer, I find it kind of funny that he didn't do his research first before playing the game, so he knew what he was getting himself into. But you have to understand, stop giving them ammo. That's what you're doing right here. What you're saying in this is going to... It's an example of what they're saying. You just gave, they don't have enough ammo. Sarkeesian and Sun-Higginson, this is what they're talking about. That's exactly what you just did. Think before you speak, people. Because this is not going to get anywhere. If anything, it's detrimental to the community. Now, if you're all for yourself, well, then it's a completely different story. You know what I mean? You don't care. If you don't care about the community, then we don't care about you. But understand that you make the rest of us look bad. That video just impacted what I'm doing and what others are doing. And you have to understand it's all connected. All of it. But it seems like people don't care about those type of things. Seriously. In a time, let's say in a culture, I should say, when we've played as women, aliens, and hell, even in Resident Evil, you played as tofu. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But yet, people are still going to try to keep this going, this on-waging war. Why? Because it gets attention. Instead of looking at the facts. Stop being screwed out of your money. Stop being duped every time someone comes up with a get-rich-quick scheme. That's all this is. No way should this documentary see the light of day. But I'm sure it will. And it's sad to see. It's ridiculous I even had to come back to do this. I'm out.